Hey everybody, it's Andy aka Max Writer. We are back to another author showcase. This time we are looking at Residue of the Past. Now, this is my most recent Miskatonic Repository submission publication. This is a modern Call of Cthulhu scenario that basically sees six ghost hunters heading into a haunted house that has a really checkered history. And in the end, they find that they're not finding what they really want to find, but they're finding something much, much worse, which is pretty typical of Call of Cthulhu, if you think about it. This was initially played at Miskatonic Repository Con. I was hoping the initial write-up was supposed to be played at NerdCon at Appalachian State University in 2020, but with the advent of COVID, this college shut down, so NerdCon was canceled. Miskatonic Repository Con was an online convention in October of 2020, and this was one of the scenarios that I ran, and I had a really good time running it, and had some amazing players, actually. It was a lot of fun. I don't know what to say about this. There it is, this Residue of the Past. Let's take a look. Here's our cover, our back cover with some of the other scenarios I've written. We've got our I don't know what this is even called. This has got all the basic information, copyright, all that stuff. My voice actors are thanked. I really appreciated their help. If you get this from DriveThruRPG, you get an audio file because the investigators can find a tape recorder, whereupon two people pretty much say their last words. Anyway, a couple quotes. H.P. Lovecraft. Here are my players, my playtesters. The table of contents, it wasn't quite as large, so we've got a picture also of the New London Ledge Light, which has something to do with the story, the background, but not really the story. Our foreword talks about haunted houses. I drew a lot of inspiration from The Haunting of Hill House and Hell House. Those are two separate novels and the movies that were spawned from them. It also goes into a couple of other haunted house scenarios that are in Call of Cthulhu products, which is very cool. And where I got my main inspiration was from The Running Man by Brian Lumley that appeared in Green and Pleasant Land back in 1987. Fantastic, creepy little story, and it inspired me to write this. Residue of the Past, of course, has a second title. Ask not for whom the swine snorts. Not great, but, sometimes I struggle with those. We have our introduction and your teaser for the scenario. Keeper information goes into the background and history of the house and the land, why it's haunted, what's going on. The truth of the matter actually goes into even more detail on why all the weird stuff happened initially. But all your keeper information is right here. Player information gives our background on Ghost Lore, which is the group of people who are hunting ghosts. We have a little bit of brief information on each of the characters or pre-gens, a little information on Ghost Lore, Ghost Lore's mission statement, some of their equipment that they have for ghost hunting, including a van, and some talk about the two previous episodes that really did well on YouTube and on their own website, and actually made them enough money to keep going on this. Got a little note on Dwight Graves. Dwight Graves is a sensitive. He's a psychic. He can pick up on things, and that's important for the scenario. And so there's a little information here on how that works. It's very simple, just a power roll to see if he can activate it, and then the keeper goes and does what he wants. Now, I went into a lot of details with adapting the scenario because you could run this all the way back to 1700s. No, 1600s. When the heck did this... Hold on. I've forgotten. It's been a while since I wrote this. Since I wrote this... So this initially starts in... Yeah, 1700s. I was right the first time. I gotta have more confidence in myself. So this could have run all the way back to middle of the 18th century. So there's a lot here about adapting the scenario. Our locale is in Hillsborough County, New Hampshire, with information on some of the surrounding towns: Brookline, Hollis, Milford, and the Monson Center doesn't exist anymore, but there's a museum there. It was the first, I believe, first inland colony in New Hampshire. I did a sidebar here on scenarios set during early COVID. So this takes place in March of 2020, which was when initially NerdCon was supposed to take place. I was going to have it take place the same date that it was. So this gives a little information on COVID and how it came about, especially in Connecticut, New Hampshire, which The players are from Connecticut and they're going to New Hampshire. Scenario starts proper on page 15 with the New Hampshire ghost hunt. The trip to Monson. One of my players suggested that all the handouts be handed out in advance, and I thought it was a great idea because they would do all this research and you don't have to look at them during the actual game. Especially in a convention game, it would save some time. The waiting man is waiting there with the key to the house. The house and grounds, I used the Greeley house is actually based on the house from Psycho. Then there's hunting for ghosts, and the most important part is the events. There are numerous events which take place or can take place depending upon how the ghost hunters act over the course of the weekend or even one night, which is the way it went for the playtest. But they go in phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Each phase is worse and worse and worse. And different things happen. You can find different things. You can run into different people who are coming from who knows where. There's a little bit more information on the house through time because the basic premise is that Yog-Sothoth is involved, and this house is connected to different times and places. All on the same property, but different times then. So you've got 1769, when the original Order of the Way was there, 1774, when the Order of the Way house burned down, 1895, which was when Amos Greeley built the house, 1971, which was when some other ghost hunters came in and there was a big tragedy and everybody died or disappeared. And then present day, which isn't mentioned because it's present day. I put some advice on pacing. Ours went really, really fast. Like, boom, it was all done. But you could drag it out over an entire weekend. And when I say drag, I don't mean that in a bad way. I've got a little note on cell phones and how they might work and some things to do to mess with your players. There's a... Oh, shoot. Darn it. There shouldn't be an indent there. Here's some information on being chased through the house. Just some ideas. Information on possible dreams if anybody goes to sleep inside the house. What to do about this whole situation. What can you do about all this? And how can you actually get away and escape from the house? Again, I had a little denouement to say, what happens to the players, reminding the keeper, find out what happens to these characters after everything is said and done. There's a sidebar here about the Novikov self-consistency principle. Now, this is a time travel theory that basically states you can't change time, only become a part of it. That's the basic premise. Sanity rewards, and then afterwards in playtest notes. This ended up being quite long because just a lot happened in our game, and it was a lot of fun. Short bibliography with some of the things that most influenced me, and then we're into some non-player characters. We've got, these are all the NPCs, including swine folk, which are rarely used, but very cool. Here's a map for the players. I would have loved to have just taken a picture of a Google map, but that is copyrighted. So I did my best to make a local map of the area. Here is a map of the house, just a basic map of the house for the keeper to use. And then what I did was the blank ones I ended up putting on 3 separate pages because this is fairly close to, if you have miniatures, you could just print this out and put them on the map. It might be a little small. It might have to be blown up just a little bit. But all 3 floors are there. Then we've got a timeline for all the events. A lot of stuff happened in this, and I did this to help the keeper keep track. I went into some more information on the ghost hunters of 1971 because I realized it would be very easy to research them, and I had nothing when I initially wrote this. So there is some information on them, what they have done, and that kind of thing. And then we're into handouts. There's quite a few handouts, some that you can get from local libraries, but most of them are from our newspaper articles. And I should have put a thing to say, I should have put a little blurb somewhere saying do these on newsprint because it looks so much better. There's also a little sidebar here about the paper house. You can actually get a paper psycho house online to put together, and that's what I initially did because I wanted that on the table to draw people to my table for the convention. Here's a list of the items that the ghost hunters have. This, please wear a mask. That's just a filler. But all the rest of these are newspaper articles. Here's the transcript of the audio that could be found on the cassette tape. And then there are some other things that your investigators can find as they explore the house, including some notes taken on a piece of notebook paper. This was something I had never thought of before, which was the ghost hunters in brief. And it just tells what everybody knows about everybody. And this is something that you can put out in line in advance and say, hey, here you go. Pick who you want to play. Then we've got our NPCs, we've got our pre-generated character pictures, and finally we have our 6 pre-generated characters, the producer, the face, the researcher, here's our cameraman, here's our electrician, and there's Dwight the psychic. These are all done with the modern character sheets. Our back cover image in full, because I only used part of it, about the author, and finally our back cover. So there it is. There's Residue of the Past. That is a present-day Call of Cthulhu scenario set in New Hampshire. So if I'll put a link to in the description below for the DriveThruRPG. And yeah, so thanks for watching, everybody. As always, I appreciate it, and I will talk to y'all next time.